One of the options for treatment of epilepsy is a sort of epilepsy surgery that involves placing a pacemaker. This is called a vagus nerve stimulator. This little tiny pacemaker is placed in your chest wall, and then it has leads that are threaded up around your vagus nerve. And what it does is it shoots electricity up the vagus nerve that controls or helps to reduce seizure activity in the brain by changing the neurotransmitters.
What you have to think of the vagus nerve stimulator as just another type of medication, because we implant this device, we start at a very low setting, and what happens is each month or every 2 weeks you'll go to the neurologist's office and he or she will adjust the amount of electrical stimulation to help try to control the seizures. This has an efficacy of about 1/3 of the patients, seizures are totally stopped. Right. 1/3 they improve the seizures by more than 50%, and 1/3 it doesn't work at all. So you need to have a conversation with your neurologist whether this is a good option for you.
So again, a vagus nerve stimulator is a pacemaker that's implanted in your chest wall, shoots electricity into your brain to cut down on the seizures. The other good thing about this pacemaker is that it comes with a magnet that the person can wear on their wrist or the caregivers can have. And when the patient or the caregiver sees or feels a seizure occurring, they can give an extra swipe of the magnet across the pacemaker, which gives some added electricity and will abort the seizure before it takes place. So this is another option for control of seizures that you can discuss with your neurologist and your neurosurgeon.
And I'm Kelly Ring. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Well, it's become one of the most talked about issues in the country, medical marijuana. Here in Florida, supporters are making a big push to get it on the ballot. And before you make up your mind about medical marijuana, tonight you're going to want to hear from a mother in Lithia who says her 12-year-old son needs the drugs to battle a rare disorder. Fox 13's Josh Cassio is here with her story. Josh.
Well, Kelly, he has a rare syndrome called F.I.R.E.S. He has up to 5 seizures a day. His mom believes medical marijuana is his only hope, and she won't stop until he can get it legally.
I'm gonna get him back here.
Renee Petro showed us 2 very different versions of her son Branden. First before he got sick, then afterwards.
Branden he's relying on me to help him. He doesn't want to be sick.
At around 9 years old, he was diagnosed with febrile infection-related epilepsy syndrome, or F.I.R.E.S. In fact, just minutes before our interview, he had a seizure.
I'm numb now. Literally, I'm numb. Every time he seizes, I'm numb. All I can see is a plant, and I can't grab it. I can't reach it, and it just kills me.
She's talking about medical marijuana. It's currently illegal in Florida. She believes it's her son's last hope. He currently takes several harsh medications, some of which she says causes him suicidal thoughts.
Mommy just gave you some medicine.
Mommy, you'll help me to make it.
Yeah.
Because I want to.
Unfortunately, I had to diastat him.
Mommy, I'm so sad. Leave me alone.
Petro has even taken her fight to lawmakers in Tallahassee. Advocates for medical marijuana are pushing to get it on the November ballot. The group behind it says they have the signatures, but opponents still aren't convinced. We spoke with Calvina Fay, the director of Drug Free America, earlier this month.
This initiative that is proposed is really not about medicine. It is about legalizing and making marijuana socially acceptable.
But if it means saving her son, Petro says she won't give up.
I know that when I die, I will die at peace because I did everything for my son. That's my duty as a mother.
Please welcome Dr. Cristina Sanchez, the molecular biologist who discovered the anti-cancer properties of THC.
My name is Cristina Sanchez, and I work at Complutense University in Madrid, Spain. And I have been working for the last decade on the anti-tumor effects of cannabinoids. In the early 1960s, Rafi Meshulam from the Hebrew University in Israel characterized the main compound in marijuana producing the psychoactive effects that we all know. The cannabis plant has been known for millennia. After the discovery of this compound that is called THC, it was pretty obvious that this compound had to be acting on the cells, on our organism, through a mechanism, through a molecular mechanism. And in the 1980s, two specific targets for THC were discovered, something that we call cannabinoid receptors. And after the discovery of the receptor, it was obvious that our body has to synthesize something that binds to these receptors. It was pretty obvious that was something endogenously produced by our own bodies that was acting through these receptors. And these compounds, these endogenously produced cannabinoids, were found a few years later, and it's what we call the endocannabinoids, because they are produced endogenously inside our bodies. These compounds, the endocannabinoids, together with the receptors and the enzymes that synthesize, that produce the endocannabinoids and that degrade the endocannabinoids, are what we call the endocannabinoid system. And we now know that the endocannabinoid system regulates a lot of biological function. Appetite, food intake, motor behavior, reproduction, and many, many other functions. And that's why the plant has such a wide therapeutic potential. We started working in this project 15 years ago, and it was basically by chance. We were working with astrocytes at that time, and we decided to change the model and work with astrocytoma cells, the tumoral cells. And we observed that when we treated these cells with cannabinoids, THC, the main psychoactive component of cannabis, it was killing the cells in our petri dishes. We were killing the cells. So we thought that we were facing some potential anti-tumoral responses. And then we decided to analyze these compounds in animal models of breast and brain tumors. The results we have obtained are telling us that cannabinoids may be useful for the treatment of breast cancer. We started to do experiments in animal models of glioblastoma, brain tumors, and we observed that cannabinoids were very potent in reducing tumor growth. Cells can die in different ways, and after cannabinoid treatment, they were dying in the clean way. They were committing suicide, which is something you really want when you have an anti-tumoral drug. One of the advantages of cannabinoids or cannabinoid-based medicines would be that they target specifically tumor cells. They do not have any toxic effect on normal, non-tumoral cells. And this is an advantage with respect of standard chemotherapy that target basically everything. When we started to see these anti-tumor and cell-killing effects on cancer cells, we decided to set aside our metabolic studies and to focus on cancer. I cannot understand why in the States cannabis is under Schedule 1, because it is pretty obvious, not only from our work, but from work from many other researchers, that the plant has a very wide therapeutic potential. We are in contact with doctors in Spain, oncologists, neuro-oncologists, and breast specialists that are willing to test these compounds in human patients. The plant, besides THC, produces cannabidiol. And this compound is very special because it is not psychoactive. It has been demonstrated that it's a very, very potent antioxidant. It protects the brain from stress and from damage, kills cancer cells, and when you combine it with THC, it produces synergistic effects, which means that the effect of THC is potentiated. At this point, we have enough preclinical evidence supporting the idea that cannabinoids may have anti-tumoral properties. We, as researchers, should explore in more depth and be willing to try in many different pathologies. Cannabis has an enormous therapeutic potential.